Welcome to the Illinois Department of Transportation's Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, commonly referred to as the Enhancement or ITEP program. The ITEP program is a community-based program that is funded by the Federal Highway Administration and administered by the Illinois Department of Transportation. ITEP participation provides an avenue for and encourages local communities to become directly involved in transportation projects. Public participation is encouraged throughout the entire project, starting with planning, development, and the implementation process. This local connection enables ITEP to allocate resources to well-planned projects that can provide many benefits on a local, regional, and statewide basis. ITEP projects provide a great opportunity to complement and enhance other projects within your community. The first portion of this presentation will discuss key aspects of the Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, covering the competition for program funds, phases of a project, project eligibility, project categories, sponsor requirements, the federal share and local match requirements, and what resources are available to assist you with your application or answer questions, and the application schedule with deadlines for submittal. The second portion of the presentation will provide an introduction and demonstration of the online application. As the slide depicts, competition for ITEP funds is significant. The ratio of funds requested to funds available typically runs around 5 to 1. For this reason, it is important that you carefully review the materials in this presentation as well as the ITEP Guidelines Manual, the written instructions, and other supporting documents to make your application comprehensive and concise. A thorough understanding of the information provided will help you to focus time and resources on developing materials which will provide the best support for your application. ITEP funds can be used for each of the various project phases listed. Additional information on the various phases of a project and how a project goes from an idea to completion can be found in the ITEP Guidelines Manual under Section C, Section I, or Section J. All projects must have a link to surface transportation to be eligible for ITEP funding. Projects must meet eligibility requirements for the type of category it will be submitted under. We will explain more about categories in the next slide. Additional information for project implementation requirements can be found under Sections I and J of the ITEP Guidelines Manual. Information on the Sunset Clause can be found under Section H of the ITEP Guidelines Manual. Two additional items to point out is that ITEP funds cannot be used for roadway-related improvements such as reconstruction or resurfacing, nor can ITEP funds be used for general repairs or maintenance of existing facilities. There are 12 federal categories eligible for ITEP funding. IDOT is currently accepting applications for projects in all 12 categories. As you can see, there is a wide variety of categories and consequently an array of projects that can be funded under the ITEP program. Each category may include specific eligible and ineligible components. Details for each of these categories can be found in Section B of the ITEP Guidelines Manual. In addition to Section B, also refer to Appendix 7 for additional information on eligible and ineligible items. Each project must have a project sponsor that is a taxing body. Other examples of potential project sponsors can be found in Section D of the ITEP Guidelines Manual. Your project can also have co-sponsors, but one entity must be the designated sponsor and will serve as the point of contact. Project sponsors must be able to provide the required local match, including funds for any ineligible items to be included in the project. Failure to sign and submit the local assurance page as part of the application will render your application ineligible for funding. The project sponsor must manage, administer, and implement the project according to state and federal regulations. You will need to work closely with your local IDOT district office to ensure that these requirements are met. All federally funded ITEP projects must be maintained for a minimum of 20 years unless otherwise specified. Oversight and management of this maintenance will be the responsibility of the project sponsor. ITEP is not a grant program, rather it is a reimbursement program. You will not receive the funds up front. Eligible items are funded at 80%, which is the federal portion. Land acquisition or right-of-way is funded at 50%. Please be sure to review Section C and Section I or Section J of the ITEP Guidelines Manual, as federal regulations are very strict regarding land acquisition procedures. Street lighting will be funded at 50% unless it is to be located within a designated historic district, which will make it eligible for 80% funding. Proof of historic designation lies with the project sponsor, and documentation must be provided with your application. Before any federal funds can be reimbursed to the project sponsor, certain agreements must be in place between the Department of Transportation and the project sponsor. Although there is no established minimum or maximum federal amount that can be requested, if your total project costs are in the range of $2 to $2.5 million, the likelihood of being fully funded certainly diminishes. If the total federal amount being requested is approaching $2 million, sponsors should break the project into logical segments that can be constructed separately. Some projects will receive partially funding. For this reason, it is important for you to prioritize which of the segments you would like to have funded first. For every federal dollar you use, you must provide a 20% local match with the exception of land acquisition and street lighting, as mentioned in the previous slide. The ITEP program should not be thought of as a sole source to fund your project. Project sponsors should seek funds from other sources. Being able to secure other funds will help you leverage the ITEP program funds and will help your application rate better. State agencies such as the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and Illinois Division of Natural Resources have programs that consist with local matching funds or maybe even provide additional funding for your project. Don't be bashful. Contact your local legislator, senator, or U.S. congressman for help. For information on the Federal Flexible Match Program, refer to Appendix 6 of the ITEP Guidelines Manual. One funding source which cannot be used for local match is federal transportation funds. Likewise, ITEP funds cannot be used as a local match against any other fund source, state or federal. Ineligible items can be included in the project application, but must be separated out as 100% project sponsor cost. Additional information on eligibility can be found in the ITEP Guidelines Manual under Section B and Appendix 7. Your local IDOT district office is familiar with several types of funds available for local match and can assist when the time comes. There are several resources available to assist you in completing your application. The ITEP website will be your primary source of information and can also be accessed through the IDOT's homepage listed under Featured Programs. Look for the Transportation Enhancement Program icon. On the ITEP website, you will find the complete ITEP Guidelines Manual, as well as the online application tutorial, written instructions, and frequently asked questions page. Your IDOT District Local Roads Office will also be able to provide you with guidance to complete your application. IDOT District Local Roads contact information can be found under Appendix 3 of the ITEP Guidelines Manual. If you experience technical problems while completing your application, please contact itep@dot.il.gov for assistance. The online application will be opened on February 1st, 2012 at 7 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. The deadline for online application submittal will be Tuesday, May 29th, 2012 at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. As part of the application process, you will be required to submit 2 hard copies of the application and all supporting documents to the Department of Transportation. The deadline for submittal of these hard copies of materials is Friday, June 1st, 2012 at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. IDOT will be reviewing applications for project selection and determining funding eligibility during the June to September time period. Project sponsors will be notified of funding decisions by U.S. mail in October 2012. Some helpful hints to consider that will aid you in completing your application are: project sponsors are encouraged to have a public informational meeting prior to project submittal. Project support can be critical. It can stop a project dead if you don't have it. Projects should be part of the community's greenways, bikeways, or a redevelopment plan. Has your community already spent money on related projects or secured other funds? Perhaps a TIF district or other local incentives have been set up to provide financial assistance to the project. Look for projects that complement each other or fill a gap or a need. Consider what type of benefits will the project provide. Do as much as you can up front. Project readiness rates high. Seek funds from other sources to help you leverage the funds you are requesting from the ITEP program. Projects selected for funding must be implemented in accordance with the Sunset Clause, which basically requires the project to be under construction within a 3 to 5 year time period. We will now transition to the second part of this presentation, in which we will demonstrate the online application.
During this portion of the presentation, we will be providing you a page-by-page demonstration of the online application. Throughout this process, we will be using a demonstration account and sample project to highlight the new features of the online application. If you have not created an account, please use the Create Account button and the User Accounts portion of the online application instructions to create your account. When creating your account, keep in mind that you may need to share this login with others who may be helping during the application process. You will also want to keep this login for use in future cycles. For this reason, it is recommended that you use a username and password which is unique to this system and which you would be comfortable sharing if necessary. You can also reuse your account from a previous cycle. For instructions on how to reuse an account, please see the User Accounts portion of the online application instructions. If you have an account, you may use it if you wish to follow along. This is the My Applications screen, which you will see whenever you first log into the system. From the menu on the left, you can access the My Accounts screen if you need it. These options are covered in the User Accounts portion of the online application instructions, so we will not be spending time on them here. On the right side, you will see a list of your applications. Applications for this cycle will appear on the top of this section. If available, any applications you submitted during the previous cycle may appear on the bottom portion. If we had an application from the previous cycle available, we could click that application and choose to copy it to this cycle. It is important that if you are copying an application from the previous cycle, you confirm and review all of the information in the application, as well as provide any missing data and update out-of-date information. Missing or out-of-date information will have a negative impact on your application's funding potential. As we do not have any previous applications available to copy, we will be creating a new application by clicking the Create New Application button. Once you click the Create New Application button, you will be directed to an Information and Instructions page. It is important that you read all of the material on this page. Items to note on this page are the helpful links to supplemental materials, as well as the Print Helpful Tips button. The Helpful Tips button will open a new window providing you with detailed instructions specific to the page you are on. Once you have read all the materials on the Information and Instructions page, please click the We Have Read and Understand the Instructions button at the bottom of the screen to proceed with the application. If you are following along, you can pause now to give yourself time to read these materials. This will bring us to the General Information page for the current application. Before we continue, let me point out a few items which will be available to you on each page of the application. If you look at the menu on the left side of the screen, you will notice that the instructions page is marked with a green check mark and that the remainder of the application pages are marked by red X's. Completed pages are indicated by a green check. In contrast, incomplete pages are indicated by a red X. Since this application does not need to be completed in order, these icons will help you to easily determine which pages you have completed and which still require information. At the top of each page, beneath the page heading, is a green instructions box. In this box, you will find general instructions for the current page. For more detailed instructions, the question mark icon can be clicked at any time. Let us now move on and take a closer look at the information required to complete the general information page. On this page, you will provide a project sponsor and title for the application, as well as indicate a general project area. Note that when entering the project sponsor on this page, prefixes such as City of and Village of are omitted. The mapping utility on this page will help in completing information regarding your governmental and legislative districts. If your project is a statewide project, you can simply click the statewide button to indicate this. The mapping utility will be removed and all the proper data will be provided to us. Statewide projects are still required to submit a project location map. See instructions for more details. All projects which are not statewide are required to indicate their project area using the mapping utility on this page. To indicate your general project location, follow these basic steps. First, utilize the search box to find your location. Next, zoom to your specific project area. The map can be panned by clicking and dragging. You can zoom in on the map using the slider on the left side of the utility or using the scroll wheel on your mouse if available. Next, utilize the mapping tools to indicate your project area. The Area tool is used to select polygonal spaces. While the Point tool can be used to indicate a specific project location. Finally, the Line tool can be used to indicate roadways, sidewalks, or bicycle paths. Also included are an Undo button, which will undo your last edit, and a Clear All button, which will clear all of your selections. When using either the Area or Line Mapping tool to mark a location, click to indicate each point, and then double-click to complete the feature. The Point tool only requires you to click once where you would like the point to be added. To define additional areas, lines, or points, you must return to the Mapping tool each time to activate it. Once the selection has been completed, the mapping utility will process the selection and fill in the form fields for governmental and legislative data. This may take a few moments. Keep in mind that this current map is only to indicate your general project area, so it is not necessary to go into too much detail at this time. We will have an opportunity to create a more detailed map later in the application. Once the calculations have completed, you will notice that the legislative and governmental data fields located above the mapping utility have been filled in. If you need to edit the calculated data, you can click on the fields. This will display a box which will allow you to make needed corrections. Note that if you change your project limits on the map, this information will be recalculated, and you may have to make additional corrections. If you are following along, you can pause now to give yourself time to complete this portion of the application. At the bottom of each page in the application, you will find a Back, Next, and Save button. The Back button will save your information and move you back one page in the application. The Save button will save your work, but you will remain on the current application page. And finally, the Next button will save your work and move you to the next page in the application. While there is an autosave feature which will save your work automatically from time to time, please use these buttons to save your work before moving to another page or exiting the application to ensure that no data is lost. Having completed this page, please click Next to save your information and move to the next page in the application. This will bring us to the sponsor information page. On this page, you are asked to provide detailed contact information for the project sponsor. The contact person is the local project manager who will receive project-related correspondence and provide project information as required. If the contact person is not the mayor, village president, or agency head, please provide contact information for that person using the second set of fields. If the contact person is the mayor, village president, or agency head, click the Same as Contact Person button and it will fill in the data for you. If you are following along, you can pause now to give yourself time to complete this portion of the application. Having completed this page, please click Next to move to the next page in the application. We have now arrived at the Category Eligibility Checklist page. Please read the descriptions carefully and select a category for your project. You may only select one category for your project. If you are having trouble deciding between categories, review the detailed descriptions of the categories in the ITEP Guidelines Manual, or consult with your IDOT District Local Roads Office. If you are following along, you can pause now to give yourself time to complete this portion of the application. Having completed this page, please click Next to move to the next page in the application. We have now reached the Project Cost page. Please carefully review the supporting materials concerning project costs. This form has many built-in checks and will produce errors if you enter values which are not within the criteria outlined by the ITEP guidelines. Some important things to note on this page are that dollar values will be rounded to the nearest $10. In addition, the $ symbol and commas will be added for you automatically, so there is no need to add them as you enter your values. For example, if in the first field I enter 18,355 and then tab over to the next field, the comma and $ will be added and the value will be rounded up to 18,360. Be advised, the rounding can cause errors on your form that may require you to adjust your numbers. You can check for errors at any time by clicking the Save button at the bottom of the page. For example, if we were to enter 4,500 as our match, we could then check for errors by clicking Save at the bottom of the page. All errors will appear below the General Help box. Please review the supporting materials for help resolving errors with project costs. In this example, our match does not meet the minimum required 20%. A quick calculation reveals that the appropriate match would be $4,590. Adjusting our value and checking again resolves the error. We will now take a moment and fill in the remaining fields on this form. To save time, we will take a quick break while we enter our sample data. Once we have finished, we can once again save to check for any errors. The final field on this page relates to Federal Flexible Match. Please refer to Section C and Appendix 6 of the ITEP Guidelines Manual for more information on Federal Flexible Match. If you are following along, you can pause now to give yourself time to complete this portion of the application. Having completed this page, please click Next to save your information and move to the next page in the application. We have now reached the Project Descriptions page. It is important to keep your responses to these questions as accurate and concise as possible. Each of these fields has a character limit, which includes white space. A banner in the upper right of each field will tell you how many characters you have used as you type and alert you when you have exceeded the limit. You may also choose to type these responses ahead of time and save them as a Word document, for example, allowing you to copy and paste them into these fields. If you elect to use the copy and paste method, be sure to review the data to ensure it copied correctly. Many times, this can result in special characters not being displayed properly. To save time, we will take a quick break while we copy and paste in our sample explanations. If you are following along, you can pause now to give yourself time to complete this portion of the application. Now that we have all required data fields completed, we will preview how the application looks so far. You can preview your application at any time from the Finalize and Submit page. First, we will click Save. Always make sure to save your progress before jumping to a different page. After our work is saved, we can go to the Finalize and Submit page from the menu on the left side of the screen. On the Finalize and Submit page, we can click the View and Print Application button to view the current state of an application. This will open the application in a new window where we can view it and print a copy if we like. As you can see, we have come a long way, but there are a few more pages to complete. So for now, we will close the preview and return to the Finalize and Submit page. On this page, we can also see a list indicating which pages are complete and which are incomplete. This list parallels the green and red icons on the main menu. The first incomplete item in our application is the project status. To jump to this page, you can click the Project Status link in the main menu, or the Incomplete link next to the Project Status item. We have now reached the Project Status page. On this page, you will be asked for information regarding the current status of your project. If you are not familiar with any of the terms on this page, please review Section C and Section I of the ITEP Guidelines Manual. One item of interest is located in the Public Involvement section at the bottom of the page. In this section, there are several fields which have the notation indicating to attach copies if you select Yes. If you select Yes as your response to these questions, the related items will become required attachments on the Attachments page. For example, if we select Yes for Governmental Resolution will be listed as a required attachment on the Attachments page. If you are following along, you can pause now to give yourself time to complete this portion of the application. Having completed this page, please click Next to save your information and move to the next page in the application. We have now reached the Project Maintenance page. On this page, you will be asked several questions regarding how the project will be maintained after construction. All ITEP-funded projects require the investment to be protected by ensuring proper maintenance will be performed. If you are following along, you can pause now to give yourself time to complete this portion of the application. Having completed this page, please click Next to save your information and move to the next page in the application. We have now reached the Project Mapping page. On this page, you will utilize another mapping utility to provide greater details about your project. Before we begin, please notice that the map should have loaded already zoomed in on your project location as you indicated it earlier. If it has not, you can always click the Project button in the lower right corner of the mapping utility to refocus the map on your project location. On the left side of the utility, you will notice another set of tools which can be used to mark specific details of the proposed project work. These tools function similar to those of the first mapping utility. To add a point of interest, simply select the Point tool and click on the map where you wish to add a point of interest. An important thing to note is that for each point feature or line feature added to a map, a corresponding description box is displayed below the mapping utility. This field can be used to add specific information about each point. For example, it could be used to indicate a location of a specific work element or the location from which a photo was taken, in addition to existing structures. To remove a feature indicator, click the Delete icon shown to the left of its corresponding description. Please note that while the earlier map was required, use of this map is optional. If you elect not to utilize this mapping utility, you will be required to attach a detailed map on the Attachments page. It is also perfectly acceptable to use both this map and attach an additional map on the Attachments page. If you are following along, you can pause now to give yourself time to complete this portion of the application. Having completed this page, please click Next to save your information and move to the next page in the application. We have now reached the Attachments page. Required attachments are listed below the green Help box. Note that on this page, Governing Board Resolution of Support is listed as a required attachment because as mentioned earlier, we indicated yes to the related question on the project status page. To upload a required attachment, click the corresponding button. This will open a file dialog box from which the appropriate file can be selected for upload. A progress bar will show the upload progress of the attachment. Once the file has uploaded, you will notice that it has been added to the attachments list. Each attachment has a comments field where a brief description of the attachment can be added to detail how it supports your application. In addition, the attachment will also have a corresponding trash can icon, which you can use to remove the file. At the bottom of the page, you will see a space used indicator. Each ITEP application is limited to 35 megabytes of attachment space. This indicator will tell you how much space you have utilized and notify you when you have exceeded the limit. Additional supplemental attachments can be added using the drop-down box located under the required attachments list. To upload an additional attachment, simply select the attachment type from the drop-down box and then click the Upload button. Additional attachments will also have a comments field available to them to provide descriptive information. To save time, we will take a quick break while we complete the attachments portion of our sample application. If you are following along, you can pause now to give yourself time to complete this portion of the application. Having completed this page, please click Next to save your information and move to the next page in the application. This brings us once again to the Finalize and Submit page. Before submitting, take the opportunity to view and print the application, verifying all data is present and correct as entered. Once you are certain all the data is correct and you are ready to submit, click the Finalize and Submit Application button. Upon successful submission, you will be presented with a verification dialog, which will confirm your submission and provide you with the ITEP number for this project. You will also receive a confirmation email, which will confirm your submission and provide further information and instructions. Once you click OK on the alert, you will be directed back to the My Applications page, where you will see that your application has a status of finalized and has been assigned an ITEP number. If you later discover that you need to make revisions to your application once it has been finalized, you will need to submit a request to unlock your application. See the instructions for how to submit a request. At this time, click the finalized application you just completed to review it. In a finalized application, only the instructions page and finalization page are available. On the finalization page, we can view and print our application as before. This is important, as you will need to include hard copies of your application with submission of your hard copy support materials. Print copies you intend to submit only after you have finalized your application, because it is only then that the ITEP number will be included at the top of the printed application. Once we have completed printing, we can close the application, which will bring us back to the My Applications page, where we can start another application if necessary. This concludes our walkthrough of the online ITEP application.
I hope this tutorial has proven to be useful to you. In addition to the ITEP Guidelines Manual and the written instructions that will be available on the application itself, you can always come back and access this tutorial again and search for the specific page where you may need assistance. Thanks and good luck with your application.